What if I told you that if you pick up your phone right now, navigate to your Google browser and search who is the owner of China, the name Jack Ma comes first? The weirdest thing about this is that it is not a joke. Who is Jack Ma? Does he really own China? And if so, how? Welcome to yet another video on the history of the world's most famous persons. Today, we will be diving into the success story of Jack Ma. Aside from his name showing up as the owner of China, what more is there to know about Jack Ma? And how did he get to the fame he has received today despite the apparent and publicized rejection that clouded his beginning? So, who is Jack Ma? Jack Ma is the owner of China, but the fact that this response comes up when searched makes it important to ask who Ma is. Jack Ma is the richest man and the most recognizable business tycoon in China. He is the chairman of Alibaba, a Chinese e-commerce company that currently sits as one of the 10 largest companies in the world. He has been dubbed most recently as Asia's Jeff Bezos. Jack Ma was born in China's southeastern city of Hangzhou in the year 1964. He was born to parents who took traditional music as a trade as traditional musicians. And for some reason, Ma was never one to fancy that lifestyle. As a teenager, he started to learn English from foreign tourists, which was only after China had opened up its borders to let in foreigners in the late 1970s. For a period of 9 years, Ma hung around outside the hotel, now called the Shangri-La, waking up at 5 a.m. to talk to travelers. When it was time to further his education, Ma found it hard to pass the Chinese National University entrance exam, but he was finally admitted to a local teachers' college, where he graduated in 1988. He applied for 30 jobs, which he was rejected at KFC, the fast food place, before finally getting a job at a local university as an English tutor and co-starting a translation company with his friends. Now, let us talk about how a poor teacher found his way out of the four walls of a boring classroom to being the CEO and founder of a company he believes is very much on its way to becoming one of the top 5 largest companies in the world. At what point did he transition from being a proficient English lecturer to one of the world's most influential multi-billionaires? Jack Ma meets with the World Wide Web. While most Gen Zs do not know it, the internet was not always as accessible as it is in this decade. There was a time when connecting to the internet required making use of a large desktop, which was far too expensive for many to own. As fate would have it, Ma was not one of those fortunate to own a desktop computer, mostly because his job as an English teacher at the university only paid $15 a month. During a company trip to the United States in 1995, Ma came across his first meeting with the internet. This was in Seattle in a place of a friend. Do you know how there is a word that we sometimes search for no reason? Well, this was something like that for Ma. Ma searched the word beer, and he would reiterate that this was probably because the word was pretty easy to spell. However, on searching the word beer, he came across beers on the internet from Japan, Germany, USA, but none from China. Why wasn't there any beer from China on the web? Ma recounts in some of his interviews that he then proceeded to search for China on the web instead. Still, he saw nothing, and it was almost like China was nowhere on the world record. This birthed the idea in him. What can I build that would put China on the world's map? This was the birth of China Pages, a yellow-paged website. The start of Alibaba. The one thing that has placed Jack Ma on the record today is the start of his multi-located business. However, like most successful businesses in today's world, it is hardly ever the first enterprise that yields much revenue or recognition for the founder. In the case of Jack Ma, his successful enterprise is known today as Alibaba. But as you might have already figured, it wasn't always Alibaba. He and his friends decided to launch the China Page, an online website about China and Chinese products that promoted Chinese businesses and their products. On the same day, they began receiving emails from people all over the world asking them to collaborate with their company. That experience taught Ma about the incredible power of connectivity, particularly how the internet can have a significant impact on global trade, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. Due to a lack of funds, Jack had to close this website to begin a short-term government job at the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Economic Cooperation in the latter half of 1990. This was where he was able to establish employment relationships with influential people who would later influence his life and business venture. Jerry Yang, one of the founding members of Yahoo, was one of them. By 1999, he left government employment. The growth of Alibaba and the rocky road. Jack Ma had seen a future in internet sales, and he was not ready to let that opportunity slip past his days. Jack returned to the internet entrepreneur, assembling a team of 18 people, including himself and his wife, and pitching them on Alibaba's dream of facilitating international trade for Chinese small and medium-sized businesses. But even with Ma's intentionality, charisma, and vision, things did not appear to be looking up at first. During the early stages of Alibaba, Jack attempted to raise funds from Silicon Valley, the United States tech hub, but was turned down, and his business model was criticized by many as unprofitable and unsustainable. Jack eventually persuaded Goldman Sachs and SoftBank to invest $5 billion and $20 billion, respectively, in Alibaba. With this, business commenced in earnest and became a popular trademark of the Chinese trade. But what Ma envisioned from the time of China pages was a means to connect Chinese products not just to those in the country but on an international scale. Alibaba launched Taobao Marketplace, an online shopping forum, just 5 years after this investment, and later added Alawanglang, a computer-based messaging tool to help buyers and sellers communicate. This was what was needed to drive eBay out of China. Ma and his team realized that while the dream was on a larger scale, they needed to show the extent of the reach locally first. This birthed the common saying that Alibaba is a crocodile in the Yangtze River while eBay is a shark in the ocean, and if they fight eBay in the ocean, then they'll lose, but if they fight them in the Yangtze River, then they have a home base advantage. They fended off eBay, and this enabled a major investment into the business. In 2005, Yahoo bought 30% of the company for a whopping $1 billion. Then Ma and his team successfully raised more than $25 billion for Alibaba by listing it on the New York Stock Exchange in the United States, and with this, the world was theirs for taking. Alibaba Cloud came onto the scene in 2009, just 10 years after Alibaba launched in Jack Ma's apartment, quickly followed by Jiaozuan and AliExpress in 2010. More recently, in September 2014 when Alibaba Group went public on the New York Stock Exchange, it was evident that Alibaba had become more than anyone had envisioned. With its $25 billion IPO, the largest ever, it ended its first day at $93.89 per share, a 38% gain, outperforming other technology behemoths like Facebook and Google. Despite the bias and the accolades bestowed upon US-based internet technology behemoths such as Amazon.com and Facebook, the true king of the digital hill are located thousands of miles to the east in China, the home of Alibaba. Alibaba is the world's largest e-commerce company, with tens of millions of online users per day on its 3 primary e-commerce sites, Taobao, Tmall, and Alibaba.com. How large? This borders around 674 million active users per year and 755 million smartphone users. Regarding annual revenue, Alibaba boasts 376 billion in Chinese yuan, equivalent to $54 billion in US dollars. Alibaba started small, but today, it sits as one of the most respected business platforms for small and medium ventures. This is the story of not just a man rejected by Harvard 10 times. Neither is it the story of a teacher who became a business tycoon. It is a story of a man who saw an opportunity and fought to fulfill his dreams.